hate me. I work with leather. I had a steak for dinner. Pretty much most of my day revolves around eating meat. I don't give a shit about the animals.
Hi, so this is Lucy and this is
Eugene.
So thank you so much for accepting to talk with me today. It's really nice of you. I have 3 thought-provoking questions on my side. The first one I'd like to ask you is, what do you think about animal abuse or people who abuse animals?
I mean, it's wrong in general, but it depends on what you define as abuse. So, that's your question.
According to your definition.
According to my definition. All right, well, there's the definition of animal cruelty, which some people go into, which is like just standard animal practices when what we eat. But in my mind, animal abuse is when you kick and abuse animals like you would a child or something like that, and that's never right. That's my answer.
Okay. Fair enough. The second question is, do you think animal abuse, exploitation, or harm happens on animal farms or in slaughterhouses?
I mean, I wouldn't. That's why I went into the first part of. I wouldn't say that slaughterhouses are. I mean, there's a humane way to do it, and they try to as much as possible. I grew up in a farming town, so we try to do it as humane as possible. But at the end of the day, I think it's more of. It's not with how we eat, but it's more of like just a typical everyday animal, so like a dog or something like that.
The last question is a little, it's a little bit more touchy, let's say, but I get it because I used to do it for a long time as well. I'm sure you can guess what it is now. So do you buy any animal products, like for example skin or like animal skin, like leather, things like that, eggs, milk, meat, things like that?
You're going to hate me. I work with leather. I had a steak for dinner. Yeah, so pretty much most of my day revolves around eating meat.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's going to be an interesting conversation then. Right? All right. So would it be okay if I show you a 3-minute video on the standard practices in animal agriculture?
I'm assuming is it going to be a skewed view into like the animal cruelty and like the slaughterhouses and stuff?
It's an investigator talking, so basically someone who visited them and talks about what, she knows about the industry and things like that.
I mean, I'd rather not watch it.
Why not?
Why not? Like I said, I grew up in a farming town. Videos like that can be very politicized and so forth, can be skewed and biased and so forth. I'd rather not watch something that I know is already going to be skewed. So if something's just presenting facts, that's different. But if something is skewed to support your views or my views, I mean, if I showed you a video that promoted the humane slaughtering of animals and you believe, from what I understand, that slaughtering of animals is wrong, then at that point, why watch each other's videos?
I understand what you mean. Yeah, I get it. What really it's totally fine if you don't want to watch it. It's just like this video is like really about the standard practices that are like common and legal, and many of them are about humane practices, but I understand what your point. Anyways, so maybe we can jump ahead of that and talk about, all right. Talk about this, the humane, what does that look like to kill humanely?
Well, on the farm, if a horse breaks his leg, you shoot it in the head and you put it out of its misery. Would you rather thrash around and not survive with a broken leg, or let it be put down fast and quick? So that's humane practice, and most slaughterhouses, especially back home, use a bullet punch. They put it between the eyes, so then it's instantaneous, kills the brainstem, everything else. So that to me is humane.
Do you think we need to eat animal bodies or their secretions to be healthy?
Yes, actually, it's in our biology. Well, if you study history long enough, you start seeing patterns. I mean, hunter-gatherers, they wiped out the mammoths because they ate meat. Let's see. You have the Inuits in Alaska and northern Canada, and even Siberians, who they can't grow anything. The only thing they have is seal, polar bear, wolves, moose, access to those, and their ancestors was the woolly mammoth. So not only our diet builds on the fruits and vegetables that we can gather, which is why we have our molars in the back, but we weren't born with and evolved with canines and the front pinchers if we weren't supposed to eat meat.
Have you heard about the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics?
Yes.
Yes, you have. Well, you know then that it's like one of the biggest groups of nutritionists in the world, right? And so they stated that vegan diets, well-planned vegan diets, are suitable for all ages, athletes, and pregnancies. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I mean, you can have a vegan. There's nothing, especially nowadays, there's nothing wrong with having a vegan diet. You can. It's at this point, it's just a choice of preference. So if you choose to have a vegan diet, that's on you. If I choose to have a carnivore diet, then that's on me. So, but it doesn't mean I should push my beliefs onto you and you push yours onto me.
So I have more of a challenging question there. Okay, it's going to be a little touchy, let's say. What about the animals in that sense? Aren't they, being forced to be bred into existence to be exploited and killed? What would you say to that?
Either way, animal nature is going to be animal nature. Whether or not we put them in breeding pens or not, if you put a bull next to a cow, he's gonna breed and produce other cows. At the end of the day, animal nature is gonna produce more animals. How we control that to support our system being the apex predator of the world, that's up to us. So whether or not they're being forced or not, I think the bull's getting a rise out of it, and so is the cow.
My question was more like in the industry, like meaning we breed them into existence so that we kill them and exploit their bodies. That's more like what I was.
Well, your opinion is that we exploit their bodies. In most cultures, you use every part of the animal. So in Native American cultures, you're taught that to take a life is a bond within the animal, and so you only take what you need. And so that's why a lot of Native American tribes didn't actually overgraze their herds of elk, deer, bison, stuff like that. What you're thinking more about is like, say, like the U.S. Army during the 1800s, where they came in and killed a lot of the buffalo and stuff like that. Now that is overpredation, which you can see that even in wolves. Wolves will overkill the deer with an elk within a certain area, and then that population will starve and die. There's a whole life cycle to it. So whether or not they're being forced into it, that's your opinion, not mine. It's not a fact.
Well, in the sense that we do that to, when I mean exploitation, what I mean is using their bodies.
Yeah, exploitation is a opinionated word. So therefore, you're putting your own opinion and bias into it. So therefore, that question is completely biased and opinionated. So
how would you describe it?
How would I describe it? Okay, the mass production of animals to be slaughtered and be sold into the consumer, I guess this consumer palate would be the best way to say it, but completely unbiased and just straightforward fact.
Would you say that they're consensual, that they can give consent to that? To being sold and to be killed for meat?
Why are you looking for consent from a chicken?
Why not?
Why not? Because part of the life cycle of the world of animals in general is going to be that the tiger doesn't ask consent from the gazelle that it eats. The lion doesn't. The hyenas don't. The crocodile doesn't. So why should we have to?
All right. Are there things in nature that happen naturally and that we have decided that we don't want to do?
Like what? I'm
asking you. What would you say happens in nature that we say no, that's wrong. We don't want to do it as humans.
I don't have a good example right now.
All right. Mind if I give you?
Go for it. I'm assuming you have one.
I have several. For example, the fact that there's infanticide in nature, like the lions, for example, they will kill other lions' cubs or something like that. And there's rape, and rape is natural. murder is natural, right, to all species. My question would be like, if we don't have to do it, why go for that? You know?
But we do have to do it in order for humans to eat and survive. Just because each person doesn't eat and survive the same way, and if you're trying to compare rape, infanticide, and slaughter and murder to the slaughter of animals, you're trying to grasp at straws. Because trying to compare the moral animals have not been able to express a moral aspect. That's why we are Homo sapien, because we're wise man. So if we are adding into our lives the wisdom, we have that ability. But just because we have that ability doesn't mean we shouldn't be able to eat on our base instincts. But you're trying to compare rape, infanticide, and murder to the slaughtering of animals. Those animals still slaughter other animals to eat and survive. Just because their way of survival, therefore your way of survival and my way of survival is different, doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just a different way.
All right. My view of it is more like in terms of if I can avoid suffering, because we've stated already that we can be vegan, like it's a preference, right? We can be vegan and healthy.
Doesn't mean we have to be.
We don't have to be. That's right. It's a personal choice, right? The question is like, why make that personal choice when it means that an animal will suffer and die in the process?
That's your assumption that it's suffering and dying. How do you know that it's not thriving?
They're killed, right?
Everything's gonna die and everything's gonna live one day in its life. Just because we control how it does with an animal doesn't mean that it suffered. Hell, a cow gets nice and fat before it gets slaughtered. Don't you think it enjoys eating? Don't you think it enjoys giving birth and passing that on, doing the natural instinct? So therefore, who's to say that it suffered even though it's a short time? By you, it might be suffering because your opinion of it and the way you view it. But there's no way of asking the cow that. There's no way of asking the chicken that.
So you mentioned that you lived on a farm, right? Are you aware of like mastitis, for example, all the infections that happen?
A lot of farms actually are A, required to, and B, naturally do already give antibiotics and steroids and everything to help protect that. So those infections are generally going to happen in wild populations anyway. However, there are no wild populations of cattle that I'm aware of in America. There are wild populations of bison. Well, actually, no, there are wild populations of cattle that have escaped into like the natural reserves and stuff like that. But not in the sense of back in like the 1600s, if they escaped, they were just living off in the woods on their own. Now we actually have parks and reservations to give them that because humans have taken up most of the land.
When you look at the life of a cow, basically, like, I mean, they are mammals, right? So like they have 9 months of bonding where they're like they have, I mean, not bonding, but it's pregnancy. And so when they actually deliver the baby, it's very similar to the experience of a human delivering the baby. There is an attachment. It's widely known.
How? Just
well,
because you say it's widely known doesn't mean that it is.
Well, then I guess you would have to do research.
What studies are you backing on that?
But maybe if you don't believe me, you don't have to take me at my word. You know, it's okay.
This is just
I don't like expect you to if you don't believe me. That's totally fine. But if you take that aside, then how is that not abuse?
I think you're trying to stretch abuse into a subject where it doesn't.
That's my question. Like, how?
You're trying to say that by slaughtering animals, we are abusing them.
Yes. But how is that not abuse? It's against their will.
Against their will.
Yes, of course. Isn't it?
Okay. So is the tiger abusing the gazelle or the lion when it eats it?
Yes, but does it have a choice?
Yes, it does. The lion can choose to either not eat or eat, and it chooses to eat.
Sure, but
And as a meat-eating American, I choose to eat. And for me, that is cows. That is bison. That is anything with meat. Well, you said we have a choice. I mean, animals, everyone has a choice.
yes.
So lions have a choice whether to starve or eat.
But
Humans have
we
it.
starve if we go vegan?
No, but we don't have to go vegan.
No, we don't.
Okay, then why are you trying to say that we should? Why is it that becomes your opinion?
You can murder someone or you cannot murder them. But should you murder them? That's my point.
In the world, you can still murder them. In Asia and Europe, you can still get away with murder. It might be illegal, but you can still do it.
Do you think that's okay?
Given the circumstances.
Yeah, of course we do. If it's like self-defense or something like that, I mean, whatever. But like, is something being legal? Does something being legal mean that it's justified and okay for the victim? Like, what about the victim? That's
You're trying to put human rights into animals, and it's not going to work.
Why not?
Because they're not human. They don't have the wisdom and understanding that we do.
Not all humans have wisdom and understanding like most humans do. Like, for example, handicapped, like mentally disabled people or children. What about their rights?
And mentally, we're not going to get into that where we're going to try and compare mentally disabled people to other animals and stuff like that. No.
I'm not doing that.
At the end of the day,
I'm just saying that if they don't have these capabilities, right? Like, and animals don't, what's the difference? Like, why is it so offensive for me to say that animals should just, if we don't need to eat them and kill them, why is it so offensive to say that we shouldn't?
it's not offensive. It's your opinion. But if you push that opinion on other people, that's where you get the backlash. If you choose to be vegan and you choose to not eat meat and you choose that the slaughtering animals for you is wrong, then you don't have to be a part of that. You don't have to promote that. Therefore, you don't have to buy the products. You don't have to support the businesses, and you don't have to eat them. You don't have to be a part of that way of life. But if you're going to try and make other people feel bad for trying to living that kind of life because that's their choice, then that's wrong for you.
What about the animals in there?
I don't give a shit about the animals. And you're loving it. That's fine.
Well, it's just, if I don't care about, for example, if I didn't care about redheads, like just a random example, I don't know why, the group of people, redheads, I don't care about them, does that justify me killing them or harming them?
No, but that's another human being. That's a difference.
If I don't care about dogs, is it justified for me to kill them?
About what?
Dogs.
Dogs? Is it justified for you to kill dogs?
If I don't care about them.
Well, for us, that's socially unacceptable. But there are some cultures that eat dogs. There's people who are starving that eat their dog. So it's just what society deems acceptable. And if you're trying to push into society that eating of animals is wrong, you got a long road to go.
Weren't there things in history that we look back on with horror that were natural, that we accepted? Like sexism, for example, racism, but like at bigger and bigger degrees, things like that. What about these things?
Racism's all over the world. You're never gonna be able to get away with it while people have prejudice.
Should we not try?
We try, but you can only do so much. You can't, just by outlawing racism or outlawing sexism or anything like that, it doesn't change the way people are. In order to make change, they have to want to do it. And so if people want to be racist, they're going to be racist. If they don't, they don't. I grew up with mixed. I'm a mixed person myself. I have mixed family, cultures and everything like that. My grandfather's from Hawaii, and he's actually Filipino-Japanese. So I grew up with that culture. So at the end of the day, people are going to be racist and judge whatever they want. It's up to you to decide on how you take that. So if you want to choose to eat meat, if you want to choose to be vegan and go for that, and I choose to eat meat, then okay. We should be able to sit down, have dinner, and you have your meal and I have mine. But if you're going to judge me, and you're going to sit there and stare at me and tell me all the reasons why it's wrong. Huh?
I'm watching you while you talk.
I'm saying in the example of if you and I were sitting and having a meal, you having your vegan meal and me having my meat meal, if you're going to just sit there and judge me the whole time while I'm eating that, and I'm not sitting there judging you because you have the choice to eat whatever you want, then to me that's oppressive.
What's more oppressive, slitting the throat of an animal or judging someone for doing that?
Slaughtering an animal or judging someone for slaughtering an animal? That depends on your opinion. For my opinion, slaughtering an animal is okay. I grew up on a farm. You good luck on that one, because people are.
I know I'm not going to convince you, but it's still an interesting conversation.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying, but good luck convincing other people of that. You
I know, it's
with
hard.
with farms. So at that point, you've got to talk to like-minded people and ask them to promote that. But if you're going to try and force it onto people and force that idea, it's not going to work.
I don't understand how I'm forcing, because I'm talking to people.
Oh, that's fine. You can talk to people all day long. That's nothing wrong. It's just like we're doing now.
Exactly.
But when you're applying in the judgment and trying to make people feel bad about it, like by trying to say like, oh, well, aren't you slaughtering, you're murdering and everything like that, you're putting emotional words in there to try and make people feel guilty about it.
It's factual.
Yes, we do kill animals. But the way you are presenting the information, the way you are saying it, is actually trying to inspire guilt in someone. Like, so if I were to say, okay, well, why did you, if you were to push someone into the road, how would that make you feel?
What?
If you were to push someone into the road, how would that make you feel? Okay? So you'd feel guilty, you'd feel upset, right? Okay? That would be a choice that you made, right? To shove someone, okay. Well, if it's my choice to eat meat, and you're trying to tell me how that's wrong and how that is akin to murdering another person, that is you trying to force me to feel a negative emotion and feel guilt for eating an animal.
I don't understand with the example you gave, because it's wrong to do that, so I don't understand. Because it's wrong to push someone in the road, right?
Well, guess what? Whenever you bring up something and you try to make someone feel guilty for their choice in life.
I'm asking you questions.
Yes, and like every news person, the way you ask questions also presents an emotion.
Well, if you know that it's not wrong, then you wouldn't, like, there is no guilt to feel.
No. People can do things right, and other people make them feel guilty about it. Okay. So if we
But I do feel that it's wrong. I do think that.
And that is your opinion. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
All right.
That is your choice.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's fine.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. I'm gonna give you a card so that you can see the video if you want to.